So my name is Ben Gar. I'm head of design at Moneybox. I'm here presenting with Thai Hoang, who's with the Moneybox design team. We both recently joined. Moneybox itself is a few years old now, and actually, has anybody here used Moneybox? Has anybody? Few people know what it is. So Moneybox, for the people that don't know, is an investment app, and it's based entirely on it's entirely a mobile service. It's been going for a few years. We've got the company itself is recently got to around 50 people, and we've got around well over 150,000 customers now in terms of our user base. What I'm going to talk to you a bit about today is Moneybox UX and Moneybox as a proposition, but also how designing within what is actually a startup. And my experience in coming into it, because I come from a very different background, working at places like Transport for London and BBC and much bigger establishments. So it's a bit about how Moneybox works. It's also a bit about how we find that we have to get things done within an environment that is a startup and very different to the things that we're used to working within. So just a bit of background. Traditionally, when people think about investment, they tend to think about places like this. I've actually worked in this building. This is UBS, and it is actually this intimidating inside as it is from the outside. It's and I think principally that is one of the driving things behind the setup of Moneybox is the fact that getting into investment and actually dealing with your finances for a particular generation is actually quite intimidating. It's not something that necessarily if you are. Sometimes investment can be a familial thing. People can be come into it through family members, or they have wealth anyway. But if you don't have those two things, actually trying to understand how to get into investment and the benefits of it, and actually what it can bring you to, is kind of an intimidating thing. So if you look at the people that we deal with at Moneybox, they tend to think that investment is for the privileged few, not for the everyman, and they just don't get involved. If you think about the traditional tenets and the pillars of banking, you've got wealth management, you have banks themselves, and you have financial planning. Wealth management, people tend to think, it's for people that already have wealth, and financial planning is a consultancy, so they tend not to get involved with these kind of things. There are barriers to adopting those. And banks are focused on selling products to people. So with the founders of Moneybox, this is what's driving them. It's just like they're conscious that a generation is growing up without the tools or information to confidently build for their financial future. And when we talk about the so basically this is their ethos. So we want to help a generation invest for the future. And when we talk about this future generation, what we're really talking about at the moment is millennials. And so this is our user base, and there's a couple of reasons for this. In the fact that yes, we had them in mind when we were building the service because they're underserved in terms of their financial tools, but also because this is going to be predominantly a mobile application. So with mobile, there's a parallel in designing for mobile and designing the kind of financial service that Moneybox wanted to do, in the fact that if you consider how you would design a mobile application, in the fact that you want to be concise, you want to be brief with your information, direct and to the point, and really crafted and have a very clear message that people can understand very well. That was almost the precise opposite of traditional financial consultancy and financial services. So it was a no-brainer in terms of a direction to design a financial system that worked on a mobile, and to get it work. If you can get it working well on a mobile, then it will speak very well to the generation that you're actually thinking about serving. So Moneybox itself started like this. It started with an application that just does roundups. So you connect your credit card to the Moneybox service, and then as you make purchases, if you say make a purchase of coffee for £2.40, it then rounds that transaction up to £3, and it just puts 60 pence away for you in an investment account. So it started with a very simple hook, and it actually worked really, really well on mobile because it was very tangible. People could really understand it, and it was something that people could really relate to, as well as this kind of like affordable everyday way of actually saving, and it was something that could be ongoing, and it almost became a bit of a game. I've had conversations with people around this where they consider when they're using Moneybox, they're actually it's almost part of their financial fitness. It's part of their everyday routine, in the same way that you might go to the gym, or you might do something that looks after your health. Actually, you're looking after your financial health in the same way. But Moneybox is growing. It's always been a case that it would, yes, you'd have maybe one account that you would save into, but in terms of the strategy and the direction of the company, it's, yes, we're going to be doing ISAs, we're going to be doing LISAs. We've also just released a pension beta, so that's something that's coming online soon. We have a general investment account, and we're also getting into savings accounts. So actually, as a service, this is actually really starting to grow. And this is inherently where we start to come in with the UX issues, in the fact that the product and the proposition itself is growing very, very quickly, and we have lots and lots of different products. So we're going to have to design in a way that we can keep in pace with the product, but actually still design well for a mobile system, keep things very simple so that people can use them very easily. And that's so these are our UX challenges that we're facing at the moment. We have a complex service on a mobile device. Obviously, that, you know, all mobility and all mobile devices have an element of complexity to them because of the size constraints. But this, you know, trying to explain things to people in such a way so that they have faith in what they're doing in terms of the investment is a challenge on the mobile. The product and the company is moving very, very quickly, so we have to find a way of designing and delivering design at pace in here with a small team. And also, there's an element of knowing the customer and knowing the customer well enough and having a conversation within real time so that we can get changes within the application and get them to them and keep pace with the product movement. So in terms of complex service on a mobile device, the kind of things that we're looking at doing is, and these are two snippets from the investment tab on our device at the moment, and we're very much looking at, if you have on the left hand side the existing designs where everything is expressed in graph form or in diagrammatic form. When we're looking at moving forward with these things, we're looking at expanding on those and actually just going slightly more long form and actually explaining in very human language and in human ways what these things actually mean, like how much money have I got, when am I going to get my money, what's happening to it, who has it, all of those things. So actually taking a moment to explain in long form, which is just to demystify some of the financial just terminology and processes that happen that people find confusing, and we're hearing from people that they find confusing and a barrier to adopting banking. Then, in terms of design delivery at pace, I just wanted to give you a quick example of predominantly how we deal with designing at pace, and also how we work with our analytics and our data team. Because this actually allows us to move in a sure-footed way if we're working very much hand in hand with them to find out the results and how well performing our designs are. So this is a key screen, and sorry, it's a bit bleached out on this black background, on the white background. But this is a key screen for Add Money, which is our part of our registration process. And it's this part of the process where you actually decide how much money and what frequency you will be adding money into your account, and how much you're going to just generally kick off your savings with. And it's a key point of our engagement. It's hugely, hugely important, and it also kind of sets the tone for the relationship with the customer as they go through. And what we were looking at in here, we were noticing that when people were coming into this screen, if they were clicking to customize the number, there was a high percentage of people that were coming in and they were selecting 0, which would cancel out. And what we really wanted to do was kind of push forward a behavior that said, don't just elect to save nothing on a regular basis, because we're trying to promote behavioural change, we're trying to promote good saving habits. But also that, you know, obviously there are commercial considerations with those things as well. So we looked at, just very quickly, in terms of the design sketches that we started to produce, very, very quick solutions around just giving people little nudges along to just to respond to the kind of values that they were putting in. So if someone puts £10 in, you say, yeah, okay, that's cool, that's the most popular, that's generally what people put in, people like you do that. So there's an element of reassurance in there. But also if you put 0 in, you just say, are you sure regular deposits help making investing a habit? Obviously we have to be careful here, we can't give advice, but there's things that we need to do just to kind of promote behavioural change. And the point of talking about this is that this is a very, very quick process. We did this in a week, or this piece of design, and then we released it as an A/B test. And the results were pretty amazing in the fact that we had the A/B and this being the B route, that there was a 12% there was a 12% increase in participation and people putting a positive value in. So we could see instantly the fact that people were actually responding to this and that this was a successful design. And you can also see very quickly, this is some stuff that we got from working with the data guys, is that if you put that value in at an early stage in the relationship, you can see that the people's saving habits continued at a higher trajectory from that good start. It meant that it was a beneficial nudge right at the beginning. So it was a really interesting point for us, and also really interesting from a UX point of view, particularly for myself coming from working at very big places like TfL, where it will take a year to get an application out onto the market, and also if you look, they've just launched ULEZ, that took 2 years to release that stuff, and I worked on that ages ago when there was. So it was really interesting that within that very short space of time we could actually really see that there was positive change, and we could say okay, and not just that worked, we can then take that and we can build on that moving forward. And finally, just another one of this, the examples is knowing the customer. So one of the things that's very well set up within the team is the customer delight team, and they have an ongoing dialogue with customers phoning in with either looking for advice or people who make complaints or those kind of things, and it's and we have just a way of capturing their comments into the backlog, so that we can just go, yeah, okay, not only can we just respond to them in real time and say, okay, yeah, we're listening to you, but also very occasionally people have come up with, there's a repeat idea that's a really, really good idea. And it just goes, so for example, hi guys, is there still no way that you can remove my inactive GIA account from my profile? I just don't want the clutter. And then we call it, yeah, of course. And then we can then create a design backlog from that. So there's, and then again, show that back to the customer in the fact that we're responding and you're helping us to build the app with your input. On that note, I'm going to hand over to Thai. Thai's going to talk about the design system.
As Ben mentioned on the slides, there was an issue at working at startups. So designing at scale, designing in a fast-paced environment, and actually just being able to keep up the pace in terms of having a two-man team and a design team. So one of the, missions for myself was to create a design system for Moneybox to actually work from, not only from designers' point of view, but also the developers. So it's actually an opportunity for myself and Ben to actually co-create this actual system with the iOS and Android developers. So it's just not, siloed away just for designers. It was actually regular touch points with developers, and how we could actually create a design system that worked not only for designers, but also it also benefited the developers. So on the next slide, so one question, anyone heard of design systems? Awesome. Anyone actually worked with design systems? Great, you can share my pain. You'll actually see in the next screen what I actually got up to. So within the first few months of joining Moneybox, I actually just gave myself the task to actually do an actual audit of the actual design elements that were already in use. So bearing in mind, Moneybox has been around for 4 or 5 years now. So this is the actual design debt, which was, acquired within those years. So actually trying to design an app without creating inconsistencies must have been crazy for the past designers and Ben himself. So, it took, a little over a month for myself to actually collate all this data and actually digest it and actually take the time to actually retrospectively look back to the older screens and how, damage control, if I actually changed the elements and what would actually happen. So with the component system, we worked with the developers and we tried to, work out what would be the main pillars of the components used within the app and try to really nail it down. So within the 2 months of me being there, we actually got to a point where we nailed it down to just these 2 pages and really tried to be concise and savage to a point where it was just literally, this is all we have to play with in building apps moving forward. But with that being said, it was also bearing in mind that we also wanted to build a design system which would be fluid and would be able to move and evolve with the design team and the development team. So it wasn't just a case, right, this is what you're going to have to build the app for the end of days. This is just the starting point and the building blocks of how we want to progress forward and hopefully push consistency throughout the app. So not only did we do component audit, we also did a typography audit. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of you are cringing at this screen. So the way I approached type was fairly different to components. So we worked together with Ben and I, with the developers again, how to, I guess, group these certain types into different groups. So for example, here we kind of labeled them type pillars. So this could be example titles, subtitles, body text, support text. And we tried to, I guess, nail down what we had on the left into these type pillars. And by the end of it, we came up with this kind of cheat sheet for us designers and for developers. So as you can see, well, we had one cheat sheet for the Android, one cheat sheet for iOS. With these regular touch points with the developers, we found that having this column here, this type ID, they could actually, I guess, digest all this information into a single tag. So for example, we used a handoff program called Zeppelin. Any of you guys heard of that? Awesome. It's basically a handoff tool from designers to developers to be able to see all the specifications of a certain design in the screen, that's spacing, padding, icons. And this really helped us to really speed up the process of design, being able to share this, not just within design between myself and Ben, but it was also crucial to share this company-wide and for them to be able to understand what we're actually building with and what the app is actually going to consist of. So this was a great achievement in just shipping this to the team and the company itself. And with just one particular note, with this being said, and previously said that although this is just the starting point, this is going to constantly evolve, and we hope to eventually build this out.
So it's pretty brief, actually, the next steps. I think the thing we've tried to do since getting there, and in the fact that working within a kind of mature startup environment, put a little bit of design discipline, a little bit of design rigor into the processes, and I think that's kind of like one thing, and that's what Ty's showing with the design system. But there's a bigger piece in that, which is like the co-creation piece, which is working with the community and working with the community that that Moneybox have. And I think that's our next step, really, which is just actually to for example, this is the Moneybox Academy. This is so people come in and actually there's discussions around investment strategy and why investment and those kind of things. But from a UX perspective, at this point, it would be our ambition to start working alongside people like that, to almost like have UX corner at that point, just to say, okay, we're thinking about these kind of processes, these kind of projects. And while people are in the room and our customers are in the room, actually just do an hour's worth of co-creation and actually get them to help us design the applications that they want to use. So I think that's our aim beyond we're beyond working where we are at the moment in terms of process and design delivery, but like to scale it out, to actually working directly with the community would be the next phases. And that's it in a nutshell. By the way, we are hiring.